All right, I have 4:15. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. Sam Martin, Martha Eldridge, and Rick Morgan's here. The first of our public inputs. Anybody?
Well, I want to thank you as selectmen for sending a letter to the Ossipee Garden Club in appreciation of our work at the Triangles. It's nice to be noticed. We put a lot of work. We're all getting old. We can't haul water.
I forgot you were actually involved in that. The flowers this year, I don't know if it's just additional attention or what, but they're gorgeous, so thank you.
What do we have that would stay all summer for the wall up on Moultonville? The new wall.
We're not doing anything.
No, I know, but I mean, I'm talking about flowers. What would, or something low that would kind of fill that in so it's not all weeds? My plastic plants died.
A ground cover, I guess, and then it would hang over.
Yeah, something.
We'll put Brad to work on that.
Myrtle.
Must be a posy guy.
What?
He's posy. He helps us.
Yeah.
She said you're posy.
Oh, yeah,
Ash.
Tonight we have West Ossipee and Vision Night at the Freight House. Originally I had intended on applying for a facility use permit here. Some things went down that made me unavailable to do so, and realized quickly, thanks to Ellen, that it's set up for the election tomorrow. So I want to thank the board for allowing us to have it at the Freight House under short notice and duress.
Not a problem.
Appreciate that very much. So hope you'll attend tonight at 6.
I'm hoping to be there, but no guarantee. When I leave here, I don't want to Jackson. No such thing as wanting to.
I would drive.
Yeah, Hog would definitely drive. My fat butt wouldn't make it to West Ossipee.
Pull the corner.
No, they'll make the corner. Give me a little credit. Anybody else under public input? If not, we'll start into the red folder. We have the minutes of the Selectmen's meeting, which occurred on Monday, August 27th. I make a motion we accept them as printed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have the minutes of the Selectmen's work session, which occurred Monday, August 27th. Make a motion we accept them as printed.
Aye. Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Okay.
Before I forget, we did at 3 o'clock this afternoon have a non-public session under 91A32A, a personnel matter, and I would move that we seal those minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. We have the, why is the payroll reimbursement week?
That's what they signed in between weeks.
Okay. The payroll reimbursement request for water and sewer was signed midweek because we didn't have a meeting last Monday, and that was in the amount of $3,502.49. Also approved were check voucher totals for 9/1, including insurance. Payroll was $140,102.86. Accounts payable for week ending 8/27 were $21,679.09. We made a school payment to the Governor Wentworth Regional School District, the amount of $1,155,317, for a total disbursed last week of $1,317,098.95. Additionally, there were accounts payable from water and sewer, which are tracked separately, in the amount of $13,472.95. Given that this is our first meeting since these were signed, I make a motion that we approve both of those.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We have check voucher totals for this week. Payroll for week ending 9/8 was $43,316.28. We had accounts payable for week ending 9/4 in the amount of $27,805.34 for a total disbursed this week of $71,121.62. Additionally, we have water and sewer accounts payable, which we track separately, in the amount of $11,191.25. I make a motion we sign.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. These are again the check voucher totals.
Okay.
I think I got them all signed. We have a letter to the trustee of trust funds. This is on the water and sewer. It's to reimburse water capital reserve fund. Please issue a check to the Ossipee Water and Sewer Department in the amount of $4,454.82 for reimbursement of a tri-sales invoice which has been paid. I make a motion we sign it. All in favor?
Aye.
We have a letter to the trustee of trust funds from the Board of Selectmen, and this is on the sidewalk expenditure trust reimbursement. Please issue a check to the town of Ossipee in the amount of $5,212.50 for reimbursement of the following expenses paid, and it's 4 different bills from White Mountain Survey totaling $5,212.50, and this is on the sidewalk project. I make a motion we sign.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have payroll reimbursement requests this week for water and sewer in the amount of $3,708.16. I make a motion we approve it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have a notice of intent to cut wood. This is on map 18, lot 11. It's on Route 16. It's a 46-acre parcel of land. The owner is Lee Hobbs Steege.
Yep.
Steege, I guess, and Caleb Winslow is the logger. Taxes have been paid. I make a motion we approve it. All in favor? Aye. We have a letter from the Ossipee Public Library. We're in need of a second alternate to fill in for board members in their absence. They've given us a copy of the RSA, which we didn't need, but that's, the Library Board of Trustees recommends that the Board of Selectmen appoint Linda Hale, who has expressed her willingness to serve as an alternate trustee for a 1-year term.
Make a motion to appoint her.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Can I ask a question?
Good, sure.
Is that a year from today, or would it only be until March?
We don't elect our alternates, correct? We only
appoint them?
Correct. So it's not an elected official, so it would be for 1 year from today.
From today?
Okay?
Thank you.
We have the Highway Department work log, which is here in the folder if anybody'd like to look at it. We have a notice of intent to cut wood or timber. This is on map 277, lot 4, and map 278, lot 1, Browns Ridge Road. It's a 109-acre parcel of land. Arnie Martell is the owner. Wadsworth Woodlands is the logger. Taxes have been paid. I make a motion we approve it. All in favor? Aye.
Is there a percentage on that?
Excuse me?
A percentage of that?
109-acre lot, 109 acres to be cut. So, well, either clear cut or selective cut of the whole parcel. We have the 2018 MS1, which is to be filed with the Department of Revenue Administration. We've all had a chance to read it. I make a motion we sign it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We also have the 2018 MS 535, which is a financial report of the budget. I make a motion we sign it. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We have a contract for use of facilities. Monica Virgo wants to use Town Hall for a spaghetti fundraiser. Schedule's been okayed. They've paid a deposit. I make a motion we approve. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have a contract to use of facilities, Ossipee Economic Development for tonight at the Freight House. I certainly make a motion we approve that. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I'm sorry. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
That was luck.
We have a contract for use of facilities for Jesse Oblinas to use the gym for a birthday party. Schedule's been okayed. I make a motion we approve it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have two cemetery deeds. The first is for a single lot, the amount of $416.50. I make a motion we sign. All in favor?
Aye.
We have a second cemetery deed. We're conveying I presume again a double lot in the amount of $816.50. I make a motion we sign.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Two different notices from Public Health on water testing at the Mill Pond and Duncan Lake Town Beach, and both came back clear. We have a cover letter from the University of New Hampshire, and it's the reports on the Lord Scholarship funds for this previous year. Did you give Dave Babson a call and then just provide him a copy of that? He's been the one that's kind of overlooked that for the last few years for us. Actually, he's been carbon copied, so might just make sure that he got it, please. We have a letter from our assessor, and I'll read it. It says, I'm sending you this letter to urge you to change your assessment review year and reevaluation year from 2020 to 2019. My reasoning is based on preliminary indications from the sales ratio study. Your coefficient of dispersion appears to be on a path to exceed the standard set by the New Hampshire Assessing Standards Boards of 20%. The projected COD for the 2018 for all sales is 21.4. The median ratio is projected to be 88%, which is below the ABS standards of 90 to 110. The sales indicate the properties on Ossipee Lake are assessed at a median of 80.1 with a coefficient of dispersion of 22.3. The waterfront properties on the other water bodies in Ossipee have a median ratio of 80.2 and a COD of 21.3. The properties with water access have a median assessment ratio of 82.2 with a COD of 23.7. It appears the properties with water influence are assessed lower than the rest of the municipality. All of the strata appear to have a larger than desired COD, which would indicate a need for a reevaluation update to maintain the level of assessment equity set to be the state standard. We then offers to do that be willing to do this project with a similar scope as the 2015 project for $12,000 less than 2015. If you would agree to extend the general assessing contract for an additional 3 years until the end of 2023. As you may be aware of, a completed reevaluation for the following towns: Lindenborough, Wilton, Greenland, Hooksett, Pembroke, Stratford, Lisbon, Woodborough, and Ossipee, Mason, and Hampton Falls. We've discussed this in our workshop. We're going to set up a meeting with our assessor to go over this. It's something that we've actually foreseen happening. The economy being that it's booming, there's been a tremendous amount of sales. The waterfront sales in particular have been selling for a whole lot more than what they are assessed at. And what that does is it throws off those ratios that the state sets as standards for when you have to reevaluate. What we have been doing is doing a cyclical analysis of 25% of the town every year, and then bringing that all together as a reassessment in the 5th year. What this would do is bump that reevaluation up 1 year to 2019. I'm not completely convinced that if we don't choose to do this, is that the state won't make us do it anyway, because we are definitely getting outside of the boundaries of where they want us to be. So, but we're going to meet with our assessor. I'm going to try to set that up for next Monday if it's possible, and then we'll have more to announce on that if that's to decide, however we decide to go with it. We have a copy of all of the revised assessments and all of the increases in property evaluation. The town's overall value went from $694 million to a little over $701 million, or about $7 million increase in property evaluation. That is one of the things that help, obviously, keep your tax rate per thousand in check, because the more you have in order to be able to spread it out, the less everybody has to pay. So that's a good thing when the assessment goes up. We have the Highway Department work logs for 8/26 to 9/1, and from 8/19 to 8/25, which are here in the folder. We have the cash log from the recycling center for the month of August. We collected $7,509.80. We have a letter here from Charter Communications regarding their scheduling. We have a letter from the Carroll County delegation, and I'll read it. As required in RSA 2414 under supplemental appropriations, this letter serves as notice that Carroll County delegation will conduct a public hearing and vote on a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $382,852 on Monday, September 17th at 9 o'clock at the Carroll County Administration Building, 95 Water Village Road, Ossipee. The purpose of the requested supplemental appropriation is $18,000 is a market adjustment salary increase for non-union nursing staff, $10,400 administrative assistant for Carroll County administrator, $80,000 is funding for the ratified collective bargaining agreement with the Mountain View community staff, $65,000 funding for ratified collective bargaining agreement with the Carroll County Sheriff's Department, $10,000 to fund a feasibility study for affordable assisted living for county elders, and $199,452 the return of excess pro share revenue to the state of New Hampshire to benefit Carroll County and its residents through the integrated delivery network. Public is invited and encouraged to attend, to offer comments, to ask questions. If you have questions or comments or are unable to attend, please submit in writing or fax to Carroll County delegation at the address listed above. It's here if anybody would like to look at it. Mr. Comeau, you're a member of the delegation. Can you explain, or are you able to explain the idea of returning $199,000, which was already given to the county, to return it to the state for another state program?
Well, I'm not in favor of it.
Okay, I'm glad. Because I'm not either.
Because what it does is it's getting that tax money that should stay in the county and be in control of the delegation and the commissioners in this county, and it's sending it to an unelected board that's going to make a decision on where it's needed within the state. And some people say that's good. I think relinquishing that responsibility for the delegation of the commissioners, and I believe the commissioners are also against it, at least a few of them are, because that's your fiduciary control of the county taxpayers' money should not be given to some unelected board somewhere. So, explaining in detail, I have it all on audio and video. If you want to listen to it, it's very complicated how their whole, how the system is going to work to send that money through. And a lot of
Is there a majority of the delegation that's in favor of doing that?
I don't believe so.
Okay, I hope not.
No, and if you don't feel that way, I believe people should basically show up at that meeting and say so.
If I understand it correctly, this is money which was allocated to Carroll County, but through Health and Human Services.
Correct.
And now Health and Human Services is asking the county to give back 100 to willingly, not that it was overpaid, but for them to basically donate back almost $200,000, which is then going to be used as some sort of a matching grant for this other state agency.
Correct. Not for the state agency, but where it's needed in other counties.
It's not needed
I believe
now.
that people are fighting for trying to figure a way of funding the opioid addiction issue and other issues by doing this. For me, it's another scheme that I don't think is acceptable, just the fact that the money should be in control within the county. And I don't even know if it's even constitutionally you're able to do that. I don't know how you can take tax money here and vote to send it to some unelected board. Now, if it was an elected board or the governor or the executive council or something else, maybe you could do it, but
Well, the other part is maybe you could, but why would you? I mean, not for nothing, this was an allocation to Carroll County that presumed that they must have met some criteria to be eligible or entitled to that amount of money. To turn around and donate back $200,000 doesn't seem to me to be.
And the other issue was the $10,000 for the study. Carroll County does not need a study for this. The free market worked very well. Just recently, there was a company that came in and saw a need to build assisted living housing, and they're doing so. So why you would need a study when the free market already knows that it's needed? So that's another issue that's going to crop up. And what was the? It was the IDN. It was the
Well, you
study.
got to fund the union, your union and
Correct.
non-union agreements.
Yeah.
Feasibility study,
It was the union.
the administrative assistant for county administrator.
Correct. I think that's going to happen.
I would hope so.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen if it's needed. But what's also going to happen is the performance audit that was ordered by the delegation and is in play right now, which will be voted on also if you brought up. The performance audit was similar to the performance audit done in 2014, which went through and looked at how the business office is operating and how the county's operating, and there were all these recommendations made. But a lot of things changed up there since 2014, so the delegation came together again, funded the performance audit, and the Matrix Corporation is going to come and do it. They're the same ones that did it in 2014. That would tell us for sure if they need more staff in that office. But just having one staff, I think that would pass. But the performance audit would give a better idea if there's other maybe financial protocols that need to be changed or if they're being followed. And I'm hoping that over the years enough was done to accomplish that they won't find anything wrong. It should be a glowing report with the amount, because back then we didn't have a county administrator. We have that now. There were a lot of changes made, so that performance audit should be a very positive report. If it's not, it'll be addressed.
I'm going to make a motion that we send a note on our letterhead to the delegation opposed to them returning this $199,000 to the state of New Hampshire.
Second that.
Any other discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. We have the Carroll County 2017 Annual Report, which is here in the folder, if anybody would like to look at it. I presume there must be additional copies of this available at the county?
Yes.
Is that in PDF format, so it can be put up online?
That is the annual report, correct?
No, but I mean, yes, but can I link to it online through our website?
It is on the
Okay, thank you.
website.
We have the consent calendar from the Executive Council. It's here in the folder if anybody would like to look at it. We have a letter from the Greater Ossipee Area Chamber of Commerce, and it's opening positions to the Greater Ossipee Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. here in the folder if anybody'd like to look at it. We have copies of letters which are going out to abutters, and this is regarding the milfoil treatment on Ossipee Lake. It's here in the folder if anybody'd like to look at it. We have a letter from the Zoning Board of Adjustment. And it's regarding, I want to read this thing. It's on,
It's a decision.
regarding a decision on a writing in response to a letter dated August 13th submitted by Ash Fishbond as the representing agent to Bill and Jake Dawson for the business located at 80 16B. It's a letter of explanation from their position, and the zoning board's here in the folder if anybody'd like to look at it. We have a request for permission for snowmobile access. This is the Ossipee Valley Snowmobile Club. And this was for the use of Arches Pond Road. In the past, we've only, you can do it indefinite, 1 year or 5 year. I'll make a motion that we approve that for 1 year.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Three of us to sign, yes. And the other is for the same Ossipee Valley Snowmobile Club to use the trail from Ossipee Lake through Constitution Park. I make a motion we approve it for 1 year. All in favor?
Aye.
We have an agreement between the town of Ossipee and New Hampshire Tax Deed and Property Auctions. This is for an auction to be held for disposal of town properties. You had a chance to read it? Any issues, any questions?
No.
I make a motion. I should probably announce that. It doesn't cost us anything. They take a percentage. They don't take a percentage. They charge a percentage of the actual sale price of the property. So there is no out-of-pocket expense, so to speak, on us. We're looking to this. This auction will address 4, 6, 8, 10, 15 properties, which have a total assessed value of $588,000. I make a motion we sign.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there an active list of those properties?
There is. There is. And we have some sort of a newsletter from Tri-County Community Action. I suggest we put that on the bulletin board out in the hallway. We have a water and sewer warrant to instruct our tax collector to collect $8,640. I make a motion we sign.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And that concludes the red folder. Brad, anything new on 28171?
Nothing officially. I have seen them down there the past 2 weeks or so. They're doing boring samples down in there, which to me tells me that's the final part of their design, getting it ready to go out to bid. As far as I know, it's still going out to bid this fall for construction next summer. So, we did submit the revised crosswalk location that they'd requested on DOT. I met with White Mountain on that a couple weeks ago. Got that submitted, and I talked to them, emailed them last week, and received one on Friday, I believe, from Guilford over there, District 3, saying as far as they're concerned, the crosswalk location was where they wanted it to be, the people down in Concord. So he was gonna go ahead and produce the documents we needed for the agreements to get started on it. So I was hoping to have those very soon here, because if they don't come quickly here, we're up against the 8 ball as far as getting them in this fall here with, for pavement and concrete work and stuff like that, so.
Maybe, squeaky wheel gets the grease, stay on, because you're right, I mean, we're running out of time. Anything new on Covered Bridge?
No, we did get all the documents submitted on that easement and stuff there through our engineer, and they were gonna be in contact with DOT down there as far as trying to get the date established for putting it out to bid and stuff, so that's the last I've heard on that, still.
No, I probably should report that when I attended the planning board meeting last week, they have realized that they've not been holding their meetings as they should. They spent quite a lot of time. Connie read, I believe it was the bylaws, 2 or 3 pages, and they've all agreed that they'll be following the rules from here on.
That's all. That's all. One other quick thing under old business. I see Jonathan is here. We were invited, everybody, the selectmen from the 6 towns of the Comeau School District were invited over to meet with their, I'm not sure if I'm still not sure if it's a budget committee or a finance committee or what it is, but it's the subcommittee of the school board which has been in charge of the budget review. Ed was there and taped it. It's online for anybody to look at, and I encourage you to do so. I'd love to be able to say that I left there in complete enthusiasm, and I didn't. But it was a start. It was a dialogue. It was something that we talked about, and it's not to at all, again, to beat up on any member of the school board. I would simply submit that right now their budget review consists of 3 meetings with 4 people on a $52 million budget. It is impossible. The town of Ossipee, our budget committee meets for months, and it's a multi-tiered review that from the department head to the board of selectmen to the budget committee to the public hearings, and we meet for months on a $6 million budget, as do all of the other towns in the district. What the school district is currently doing, nobody will convince me is an appropriate budget review. That being said, it started a dialogue. There were at least some selectmen from every town in the district, and Ed is still believe I was working on trying to get this meeting together to host with all of the towns.
Also, the next committee meeting is going to be soon, so you were all invited to.
We were invited to all send a representative to these 3 meetings. So.
2 of those meetings happen to fall on our budget nights also.
Okay.
So.
Okay. May want, if it ends up being a member of our committee which is going to go over there, at least sit in, and I would submit at this point that we need to at least take advantage of what they have offered. Then we may have to bring it up with the chairman of our budget committee on moving those meeting dates. So, again, we went, started a discussion. We'll see where it leads. Anything else under old business? New business? Public input?
Just one question. Now that we started the budget process, has the board made a decision regarding the dump?
We've not.
Okay. Do you think you will, at what point in the budget process do you expect?
It will. Where I think where we're landing, I think where we're going to come down is on extending the number of free dump days. And if we do that, then obviously we're going to have to take that into consideration on the collection days. But I think that's where we're headed. Okay.
Just a quick question regarding the number of dump days. Are you going to change the allowed material to be brought in? Like someone brought a boat in, right? That's just very expensive for the town to dispose of for free. I mean, I think there should be some kind of limitation as to what you can bring in that day, because someone could show up with, 6 boats,
We've had some preliminary discussions with Brad. I mean, one of the things that disturbed me the last time, I think there were 3 campers
Right.
that were brought in,
That's
and
expensive.
it's not just a case that we can, you know, crush them with the
Right.
backhoe and put them in the container. There's certain things that have to be removed and everything else, and I just don't think, that's not certainly what we intended, and we will be addressing what is allowed to be brought
And
in.
if you have some suggestions for that, would you get them to us, please?
Yeah.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Public input.
Just to continue the conversation about the old water line easement that runs through my property. Just wondering if there's been any motion on that and how to get rid of that off the tee.
I think the last time we left it, Brad, you were going to go over it with Bo, see if there was any.
I think we requested Ash to just put something in writing that we could forward to the town attorney.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So if you could do that.
Okay.
I'll send you a
No
reminder.
problem.
I remember just briefly discussing it, but I haven't heard anything about it.
Okay, no problem.
So there's been no movement on it.
All right. It's okay.
On the pre-dump day, next one, October 6th.
Yep, coming up October 6th. I certainly encourage people, I mean, you know, every time we do one, I'm amazed by the volume of stuff that comes in. I am, but I'm also very happy with the volume of stuff that comes in, because the fact of the matter is, and I think people need to remember, that that stuff is all over your town. And the quicker that we can get it into that dump and properly disposed of, the better it is for everybody. Every bit that goes in there on that free day is something that we may not see on a back road. So, October 6th, this is the second or third year, I guess, since we started doing 2 of them. One in the spring and one in the fall, and we may in fact be increasing those numbers. But either way, October 6th, please take advantage of it. It's a great chance to get rid of stuff that you would normally be charged for and won't be. But there are limitations, and there may be a couple of additional limitations on some of the larger stuff that people brought in. If somebody does have, for instance, more than the allowable tires or something of that nature, contact Brad. We will work with you to try to make sure that those get disposed of properly. So, anything else?
Can I get a copy of that letter from the ZBA before I leave today? Thank you.
Anything else? If,
I think I do want to comment.
okay.
Try to keep my mouth shut. Are you ever, as a town, late giving your MS forms, or late giving doing your annual report, for instance? Are you ever late doing that, or do you usually have it pretty much on time? At least within a month.
Yeah, I mean, we've only filed extensions on the MS1 when we were waiting for DRA utility values or what have you, but for the most part, it's on time.
When another governmental agency doesn't follow the same statutes that you're required to, and there's statutes that say shall, do you think there should be any leeway in that? Not a month, I'm talking months.
No, and I kind of know where you're going, but and it's not just that, but there are sometimes the things that the county has not done in the past which have been detrimental to us and our ability to set our tax rate. Now, thankfully, that hasn't happened this year, but some of the decisions made by other government bodies, I guess is what I'm saying to you, have a detrimental impact on us. We are a little bit more, I don't want to say cognizant or aware, but our deadlines are a little maybe more important for us to follow, because they kick off. For instance, we have certain things that we have to do in order to be able to set the tax rate. We have to set the tax rate before we can send the tax bills, and we have to send the tax bills before we can start to collect the revenue to keep this whole wheel turning. I would point out that coming up in the month of December, we have a $900,000 payment to Carroll County. So they better hope that we don't drop the ball, because we wouldn't have the money to give to them if we did. So.
Because that annual report was supposed to be to you by June. They had 6 months to give you that. And I don't want to be unfair to them, because you know, it's been said that I'm trying to go to trial in public while they're not here to defend themselves. But the audit is still not done, and I have to say this before my head explodes about this. They claim that the reason why the audit wasn't done is because the delegation didn't vote to authorize them to use the auditor that was supposed to do the audit. There was a 3-year contract made back in 2015. The same firm that fixed the mistakes that were happening in 2015, they had a contract, Melanson and Heath, this is all public information, had the contract to do 2015, 2016, and 2017. It's still not done now, but they're saying it's because the delegation only authorized the use of Melanson and Heath in about the beginning of March somewhere. Let's just say that's true, and let's tick out 90 days after that point. It's still late. It doesn't say you can file an extension, the statute. It says shall be done. When the delegation realized that it may take some counties, because they've gotten very big over the years, it may take some counties longer to do audits, why don't we change it to 120 days? The committee that heard that bill said no, and they nixed it. Right? It would not even get out of committee because they said 120 days is too long. And it's just stunning to me that there's a perception, a public perception that exists now anyway, that there's 2 different rules. One the government has to follow and one the people have to follow. If you don't pay your taxes, those statutes will swoop in there and take your property. If you speed, they're going to get you on the statute, period. But when the government doesn't do it, all of a sudden they can do whatever they want. And they also have expended, I did not use an attorney because I think, why should you use an attorney? It says shall, you should explain yourself, let the judge decide. They hired an attorney, so they used your tax money to protect themselves, not from a criminal activity, but because they didn't do something that the statute says that they're supposed to do. It's just stunning to me because I know how it's going to read. It's going to read that the case might be dismissed because the annual report is out, and maybe in a few weeks the audit will be done, and then the violation is moot. So what are we going to do? Wait, let counties and municipalities go a whole year, even though it says shall? That's double standards. It's got to stop. That's what's got to stop. So that's my public comment, and it's all public information, so I'm not telling you anything that they couldn't find out or anybody else, but I had to say it because it's driving me crazy.
Just so you know, we produce our town reports every year, and they are available to be hand-picked up before our town meeting, which is the second Tuesday of March. Again, bigger numbers, but our report is every bit as thick as this one. I'd also like to ask you what your assessment was of meeting at school district.
Well, as you said, it's the first step. And the first step is conversation, talking, because as you heard from them, nobody comes to the committee meetings. Now, you could say it's because they have it at the SAU, because they don't have minutes. They didn't have minutes for a long time. You could say it's all different, but we're heading, it was some type of positive direction. And I think if nobody's showing up, then, I mean, if nobody showed up here, you would think that what you're doing at this moment is exactly what everybody wants you to do. And that's what happens with them also. If you don't show, they assume that you're agreeing with everything they're saying, even though we know different, but that's what it is. But a lot of people are in favor of the cost, believe it or not, of how the schools run. A lot of people are. A lot of people aren't. But I think the people who aren't need to have a voice. But they also need to show up at the meeting, and they need to voice their opinions about how it's operating.
Do you think the people that are, all of the people that are in favor of the cost are really informed? Or do they just go with the flow?
I think they could probably afford it.
Oh.
I think that's where it comes down to.
One of the statements I meant the other night, and I meant it, and it wasn't meant to offend, certainly what brought up to, but I made the observation that I would guarantee if the town of Wilkesboro's taxes went up $1.33 a thousand in one budget cycle, that the government school district meeting would be standing room only at their first meeting after the tax bills went out. That's just, I think that's a bona fide fact. The problem that, and I've said this and I will continue to say, I'm not suggesting And not have I suggested for 1 second that the $52 million isn't defendable. I don't know that. What I do know, and what nobody will convince me differently, is that you cannot do an adequate budget review of a $52 million budget in 3 meetings. So it's not a case that I'm saying that it's being wasted or that it's inappropriate. There's no way of knowing. And there isn't a way of knowing until you start to do an actual budget review. I will tell you that just historically, I mean, I think Ash used the term budget dust or something, which I hadn't necessarily heard, but I would be tremendously surprised if in a $52 million budget there weren't areas that could be discussed.
Well, we did hear that, and it's all over the internet if you haven't seen it already. There's areas where they basically claim that there's a large portion of the budget that we don't have control over. Now, I know that sounds, just to say that, you know, maybe there's areas that may be harder to control, and it was mostly the labor and the wages. But how can you say, as a representative of taxpayer money, that we have no control over it? That's pretty telling. So who is in control of it?
The wizard.
Is it the unions? Who else was it? This is what disturbed me. That's why I went back and checked to see if there were minutes, because I wanted to see what was actually happening in the finance committee meetings. Because who else was in the room? Who else was saying that? You know, who's leveraging? Somebody was leveraging something. Now, you never know. If we, at the end, after reviewing that entire budget, find that yes, there are portions that we don't have control over, because health, because the New Hampshire retirement system issue, not being funded by the state. And see, that's something that no politician is going to talk about. Oh, it's campaign season. You don't want to talk about that because it's not being funded and it's going to implode.
Why don't
So
we
they
have
distract
control
you.
over health?
Pardon me?
Why don't we
Well,
have
one of the
control
things that was pointed out in this budget that they gave us was literally the health insurance line item for the school district budget is $9.2 million. $9.2 million. They are still paying 100% of the health insurance for their employees' spouses, and their employees' families.
Are we sure that was correct?
That is correct.
That's what he said. Yeah.
No, that is absolutely
Well,
correct.
I said it doesn't mean it's correct.
No, but it's correct, because one of the things that I pointed out, and they acknowledge that they are 10 years behind the curve. I was a town employee. I remember those days. Those days have passed.
You don't pay 100. You don't pay 100% here.
No. No.
He's being facetious.
I know he is. But they're 10 years behind the curve, but one of the things that I think was troubling, which is, again, something that I've seen over and over in the education system, is their argument was that they're looking at what all of the other school districts are doing in deciding what it is that they want to do. And I pointed out to them, in fairness, I think they ought to look to the 6 towns that send kids to that school district to see what those towns are doing. That seems to me to be a lot more appropriate comparison of where they ought to at least be headed with health insurance. Just like we have done here. We have never, I don't believe, harmed our employees by increasing those contributions. And the way that you do that, I mean, you can't take somebody who's made their life choices and decided what they can afford for a mortgage and everything else, and then go in and take $150 a week away from them. So the way that we've done it is we have phased it in over a period of the last dozen years. It started off at 2%, then it went to 4%, then it went to 10%, and then it went to 20%, and that's for new hires. So gradually, as people retire, then the new people come down and paying more. You phase it in over a period of time, and that way you don't harm your current employees. But they've not done anything, and they are a long way behind the curve. And that's a $9 million line item in the budget. That's not chump change.
But see, during the union negotiations, for instance, we don't know all the details. And we don't know, okay, maybe they get 100%, but maybe the agreement was that it's being taken out of something else that they wanted. So we don't know the whole details of what happened there, and we won't. Now, there was legislation that was put in that I supported, which would help put the union negotiations in the 91A law, because members were asking me, well, these people are negotiating for me and I'm not even in the room, and if I'm not in the room, then how do I know what they're even asking for? Where's my voice? This is what the member said. But do you actually think the legislature is actually going to allow that to happen? No, no, no. No, the union doesn't want you to know what's happening in the negotiation room. They don't want it. So we don't know what happened. So we don't know what they were given. Now, that would be in the contract afterwards, but do we have the contract? This is why it's good that we started the conversation, that people, I hope, will start to go and learn all those details.
Because those contracts do have to be ratified by vote.
Correct.
So.
Exactly. And I believe you had said that the details of that contract should be either listed more accurately on the ballot. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Yeah. And it's not now.
No.
It's either yes or no. So.
Good. So, thank you. Anybody else under public input? If not, I make a motion. Do we have any upcoming meetings? Yes, we do. We got the Economic Development Division night tonight. And tomorrow, of course, is the state primary election here. Encourage everybody and anybody to let your voice be heard. Exercise your right. It's important. There are people around the world that are dying to be able to do what you can walk in tomorrow and do, and that's to vote. If you don't vote, don't complain.
Did you know that Iraq, when they voted the first time, had like almost an 80%?
No.
And we're like 15%?
Got to be ashamed of ourselves.
Like, how does that even happen?
And I've always said if the turnout was 90%, the question ought to be where were the other 10?
Yeah.
But anyway, I make a motion we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.